My name is Abbas Gullet. I'm the Secretary General of the Kenya Red Cross Society, which is the largest humanitarian organization in Kenya. But my background is that I'm a management person, an MBA in practicing in management. I was born in Kenya, in northeastern Kenya, in Garissa. Grew up in Mombasa, which is basically my home. Been working with Kenya Red Cross and the Red Cross movement in totality now for about 35 years, of which part of 11 years was as a volunteer in Mombasa, and the last 24 years as a paid staff, both here in Kenya but also internationally. I've had the opportunity and the luck of working in different parts of the world, in Africa, in Asia, in the Pacific, and in Europe. My last job was as the Deputy Secretary General of the International Red Cross in Geneva, International Federation, Director of Operations, responsible globally. And I decided to leave my job in 2004 after my own free will to come back home and work with the Kenya Red Cross Society, of whose I've been the Secretary General of the last since 2004. Well, the Red Cross and Red Crescent Worldwide is a humanitarian organization. It's normally enacted by an act of parliament in every country, auxiliary to its own government and public authorities. Kenya Red Cross, the idea of Red Cross was first mooted in 1939 as a branch of the British Red Cross during the beginning of the Second World War. Since 1963, we have had independent national society. Today, we have 62 branches countrywide. We have 8 regional offices. We have 1 national headquarters in Nairobi. We have 70,000 volunteers. We have about 800 paid staff countrywide. Its main area of activities are 4 core areas. It's disaster preparedness and disaster response, and disaster management in totality. It's about health and social services. Our programs cut across from HIV/AIDS, from blood, with first aid. We're the largest, we're the biggest partner to the government of Kenya in the area of blood donor recruitment. Ours is to socially mobilize blood donors and recruit them. Government takes the blood. HIV/AIDS program, it's a home-based care program. We have programs that support government antiretroviral drug dispensation, and really about peer education in schools and in colleges and institutions. It's about disease prevention and control. It's about malaria, it's about measles, it's about vaccination, major program, distribution of bed nets and mosquito-treated, insecticide-treated nets. It's about innovation, and the recent innovation we had to undertake was where the government of Kenya was using Red Cross volunteers in hard-to-reach areas to go and distribute drugs for people that are affected by malaria in Lamu and Malindi, and which has had tremendous impact. It's about our organizational development. It's about water and sanitation, health programs, but water in terms of water, provision of clean and safe access to drinking water. It's about food security, where we are involved with distribution of seeds and giving farmers tools to farm so that they can be self-sufficient and food secure, as opposed to food insecure, as we've seen in many parts of Kenya where we had disasters and droughts. So the Red Cross cross-cuts. I mean, people know Red Cross for emergencies, but we say we also deal with mid to long-term developmental issues. And it's through this network of branches of volunteers that we're able to reach Kenyans as and when disaster occur in this country, to be the leading humanitarian organization, the preferred partner of choice when disasters occur, to the government and to the Kenyan public at large.
Where do you get your money from?
Well, quite a bit of our financing now is from partners and donors from outside the country, some from local. But our desire and our aspiration and dream is to become financially sustainable in the long run, because we know the international aid and funds coming into countries like Kenya and into Africa is shrinking, is not growing. There are more and more NGOs being set up, both local and international. And the need for us to think ahead and to be pragmatic and to be visionary and to look at the issue of sustainability cannot be overemphasized. And with the donor fatigue that is out there, we have to make inroads into looking at the issue of sustainability. And that's what we have been looking at the last 5 years in Kenya Red Cross. And we've made some progress and serious progress. We're not where we want to be, but we have a clear path of where we want to be in the next 5 to 10 years, and we believe we will succeed. Well, yes, I mean, really is to think out of the box and think out of the traditional box of being seen as a humanitarian organization, charitable, voluntary, being run like charity and not run like business. We are in a very competitive business. We're in a very serious business, though it being humanitarian business. But what we say, the basic tenets of good governance, good management, whether you're driven by profit margin for your shareholders, like McDonald's or, I don't know, Coca-Cola, or this one of humanitarian like ours, which we are driven by the stakeholder values of our beneficiaries, our stakeholders, our donors, our partners, the general public in Kenya, the government of Kenya, anyone who supports Kenya Red Cross in one form or another is a stakeholder. But the good tenets of good governance, good principles of management, driven by effectiveness and efficiency of our programs, could not be overemphasized. Yes, we've gone into investments, and yes, we've raised substantial amount of money. Our portfolio, from being $500,000 under only about 6-7 years ago, to now being in the positive with $35 million in terms of asset value, it's not a small achievement. So I mean, really the issue is that, yes, we have come a long way from being negative $500,000 to being asset value and money value being $35 million estimated dollars in the plus. We built a hotel. We are now building 2 new hotels. We have one in Nairobi, a second one in Nairobi, and a third one in Eldoret. We have a conference center in Nyeri. We've started an ambulance company. These are institutions that are being run professionally and privately off the Red Cross, owned by the Red Cross, with its own board and its own management. The views is that the income that they raise at the end of the year, their profits margin, the profit that they will make will be plowed back into the humanitarian work of the Kenya Red Cross. So it's building that financial base so that we can be sustainable to be our basic core cost to start with before we're getting into program cost. And the idea is to keep on increasing this business portfolio and investment portfolio so as to be able to more and more take responsibility for our own development and for our own destiny. So we realize from the outset, our business is the humanitarian business. That's what I'm trained for, that's what I've done for the last 35 years, and that's what I could claim to be reasonably good at. You can always improve, and that's what we want to be remembered for, our humanitarian side of the business. And we want to be the first humanitarian actor or player in any disaster, any calamity, any situation that would require assistance. That's our core business, that's our mandate, and that's what we don't compromise. Okay? We want to keep the competitive edge and lead on that vis-a-vis all others. We want to be the benchmark. We want to be the partner of choice for the government of Kenya as per our mandate. On the other hand, the business we've set up, these are business and they are run with a business ethos 100%, and I don't, or our side of the Red Cross business does not interfere in the commercial side of the Red Cross. We have set up 2 companies, limited by guarantee, wholly owned by the Red Cross, but run purely on the business tenets. Both institutions, the Red Court Hotels, which the name today is Red Court, but the brand is changing to be called the Boma. That is business, strictly run as a business with its own board and its own management. On the side of the ambulance, which of course, first of all, is a need for good quality ambulance care, state of the art for Kenyans to benefit from, but more importantly, being also run in a private commercial manner. Also, we've set up a company called E+, or Emergency Medical Services, which is a company by its own, with its own board and its own management. Again, established as a legal entity that can sue and be sued, but they are limited by guarantee and wholly owned by the Red Cross. It's only then their profits is what then is plowed back into the humanitarian work of the Kenya Red Cross. And they're the only 2 institutions that the only hotel in this country, hotel chain, that every penny you spend is plowed back into the humanitarian work of the Red Cross. The others are to shareholders that would get their stake. The same with the ambulance. Well, I guess there's a start to everything, and grant making hadn't been that big in Africa, and especially African grant makers, national ones, regional ones, continental ones. This is sort of a new phenomenon. It's a new buzz is catching up, and there are a lot of people who are rushing into this. The challenge, again, for me is the basics, what I said in this meeting this morning, where it's about taking responsibility for our own establishment of these institutions and these organizations, but bearing in mind the perception out there by the international grant-making bodies, the way they perceive and view Africa as the dark continent, as the continent that is out there only with misery, the continent that is out there just to gain handouts from the international community. And we're saying no. Let's stop, think, act differently. That we can't give credence to that as Africans. Yes, we're still a long way to where we should be, but with small steps, incremental, if we get our acts right and acts together and do the right thing, exceptional governance, exceptional leadership, exceptional management, exceptional accountability and transparency, then we can be where we should be. There are many African individuals, institutions, organizations, companies, governments that would like to give resources to African organizations, humanitarian actors and players, but the perception out there, we are not accountable, we're not transparent, we're not good at our businesses, and so on and so forth. And we need to show the other side of the coin. There has always been hope in Africa. Africa can deal with its problems. There are African solutions to African problems, and it's about time that we started acting seriously and get mediocrity out of this business and see this as a serious business. And people would like to interact and support to institutions and organizations that are serious. So the call is on us to put our house in order, for us to be out there and walking tall and be the benchmark and be the preferred partner that people, institutions, both local and international, would like to work with and work for.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Very happy.
Good.